Well, Bernie Sanders is an extremely interesting phenomenon. He's a decent, honest person. That's pretty unusual in the political system. Maybe there are two of them in the world, you know. He's considered a radical and extremist, which is a pretty interesting characterization because he's basically a mainstream New Deal Democrat. His positions would not have surprised President Eisenhower, who said, in fact, that anyone who does not accept New Deal programs doesn't belong in the American political system. That's now considered very radical. The other interesting aspect of Sanders' positions is that they're quite strongly supported by the general public and have been for a long time. It's true on taxes, it's true on health care. So take, say, health care. His proposal for a national health care system, meaning the kind of system that just about every other developed country has, at half the per capita cost of the United States and comparable or better outcomes. That's considered very radical. But it's been the position of the majority of the American population for a long time. So if you go back, say, to the Reagan, right now, for example, latest polls, about 60% of the population favor it. When Obama put through the Affordable Care Act, there was, you recall, a public option, but that was dropped. It was dropped even though it was supported by about almost 2/3 of the population. You go back earlier, say, to the Reagan years, about 70% of the population thought that national health care should be in the Constitution because it's such an obvious right. And in fact, about 40% of the population thought it was in the Constitution, again, because it's such an obvious right. And the same is true on tax policy and others. So we have this phenomenon where someone is taking positions that would have been considered pretty mainstream during the Eisenhower years, that are supported by a large part, often a considerable majority of the population, but he's dismissed as radical and extremist. That's an indication of how the spectrum has shifted to the right during the neoliberal period. So far to the right that the contemporary Democrats are pretty much what used to be called moderate Republicans, and the Republicans are just off the spectrum. They're not a legitimate parliamentary party anymore. And Sanders has the significant part of, he has pressed the mainstream Democrats a little bit towards the progressive side. You see that in Clinton's statements. But he has mobilized a large number of young people, these young people who are saying, look, we're not going to consent anymore. And if that turns into a continuing, organized, mobilized force, that could change the country. Maybe not for this election, but in the longer term.